Welcome to the Still Curtain podcast. It's Thursday, October 16th, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are 4-2 after a 33-31 loss to the Cincinnati Bengals at Paycor Stadium in Southwestern Ohio. And Mike Tomlin is now 2-10 in his 19 years as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. In Thursday night road games, the Steelers have never won a Thursday night football road game versus a divisional opponent, now 0-9 and 0-7 under Tomlin, 1-8 against the spread in such instances, and just a really abysmal performance. I'm Josh Yourish, and tonight, as always, for these instant reaction shows, I'm joined by FanSided.com's Mark Powell. And we are just as unhappy as you are, unless you're a Bengals fan or a Ravens fan, coming to check in and revel in that loss because it was atrocious. And Mark, we just simply have to start with the defense, with Mike Tomlin, with everything that makes you not believe in the Steelers as a legitimate contender after a 4-1 start, because it was bad all around on that side of the football tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to know where to start with not just this defense, but really just like diving into the stats. It's like where do
There's
I,
lots of numbers you can
yeah,
pull up.
it's like where do I aim first, right? Yeah, I mean, all the stats you said about Tomlin after buys. I mean, I wrote a story on FanSided.com earlier this week that really pointed all this out.
On
Pretty much-
Thursday Night Football.
yeah,
His Thursday Night Football record, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much verbatim. I assumed I was kind of hoping I'd be wrong about that, frankly, because I was like, he's due one maybe, but like, yeah, I just like.
How about this for a stat? The Steelers allowed 470 yards to Joe Flacco.
Great. Yeah.
Well, 10 days with the Bengals. That's another number. He's been with the Bengals for 10 days. This is his second game. He's 40 years old. There's another number. And he went 31 of 47 for 342 yards and 3 touchdowns. They got no pressure on him. They had no answers for those receivers. They had no push in the run game. It was just unbelievably frustrating. Rushing yards. This is the number 32nd ranked rushing offense in the NFL. Finished the first half with 97 rushing yards, finished the game with 142. They just stopped running it because Flacco could carve them to death. And Tomlin in the middle of the week was talking about, I can't believe the Browns would trade Joe Flacco. And it's because he's terrified of Joe Flacco. Like he is any veteran quarterback, because they know the answers to the test. Like they know how to beat his defense. He's going to sit back in zone. They're not going to bring pressure. And if you can't get pressure with 4, what the hell is the point of this defense? You have Cam Hayward, you have Derek Harmon, you have TJ Watt, you have Alex Highsmith. Apparently you don't have Nick Herbig anymore, who leads the NFL in pass rush win rate.
Yeah.
Where was he? He wasn't on the field.
Yeah.
Like it's not like he didn't make an impact. He just didn't have the chance to.
Everything we talked about with like the Browns game, I just feel like they just threw half of it out the window. I don't understand.
They had interesting blitz packages. They had different looks. And yes, it was a rookie quarterback, and you can't do all that stuff against Joe Flacco. But you saw any time they moved Flacco off his spot, he was completely incompetent. Like it wasn't like he was some amazing quarterback tonight. He made a bunch of simple throws. Their receivers are dominant, and you're not going to cover those guys one-on-one. But they had no answers for anything. It was terrible.
There was no pressure. Yeah, it was bad across the board. To your point about the run game, I found a stat during the game. Through 6 games, the 2025 Bengals had 340 team rushing yards. That was the second lowest number by any team in their first 6 games since at least 2000. They had 140 plus rushing yards against us tonight. So clearly either something clicked or we just forgot that they had Chase Brown. I don't know, but
there was no effort. It looked like it looked early in the season when they weren't fitting the run. They weren't physical at the point of attack. It it was just horrible. Like, the game plan was bad, but also the effort was just terrible. Like, it was so ugly. The Bengals in the first half in the last 4 games had scored 9 total points. After going down 10-0 tonight, they scored 17. They didn't score a touchdown in the first half in the last 4 games. And they scored 2 as they scored 17 straight points, 20 unanswered points for the game. And the offense did everything. Like, we're going to eventually get to it. Rodgers was ridiculous tonight. And the defense had nothing.
Yeah, it just feels like one of those classic, like, kind of one-sided Steelers games where, like, it feels like one side of the ball is just outperforming the other. And, like, in past years, it's been the defense doing that, right?
This felt like 2017.
In, like, the Kenny Pickett years. Yeah. And like the Kenny Pickett years, or even like the Russell Wilson, last year. It'd be like, like 16-13 or something crazy where Boswell has to kick like all these field goals to win. Tonight was the opposite. And, given how much they pay this defense, I'm kind of done. Like, I'm just kind of done trying to make excuses for them. I feel like, like early in the year, I was like, oh, like it's the, versus the Jets, it was the first game of the season. Versus the Vikings, I was like, oh, it's, it was in London, or sorry, Dublin, they had to travel, kind of short notice, all this stuff. Like, I'm tired of making these excuses and having this conversation. Like, we invested so much in our secondary, and like, what did they do against Higgins and Chase tonight? Like, some of that's in scheme, some of that's also just in like the dudes in coverage. Like, we need you to step up. Like, we traded Minka for Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey got what was burnt toast against Chase and against Higgins on that final drive too, on that last
and this was early
route.
in the season.
I just don't understand.
Like, the first couple games, we talked about Ramsey didn't look good in coverage in those games, and they moved him to the slot. They blitzed him more. They played him safety more, and it covered up those things. And you know what else covered up those things? Playing freaking Carson Wentz and Dylan Gabriel. And yes, Joe Flacco should be in that category, but he's not to Mike Tomlin. And Mike Tomlin fears like this happened with the Colts last year, and it looked exactly the same, except it looked exactly the same in the sense of he got the ball out so quickly because he knew where the soft spots were in zone, and just manipulated the hell out of Patrick Queen, who was, we can talk about the corners, and I want to. Patrick Queen was horrible tonight. He was so bad in coverage. He was lost constantly, misdirection, play action, everything. Like, when he was downhill, heat seeking missile Patrick Queen, he was fine. Like, he drew that holding call that was big. But yes, on the outside, eventually they just said, okay, let's try to play man. And can anybody man up Jamar and T. Higgins? No. But definitely Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay and Brandon Eccles and even Joey Porter Jr. cannot. And those guys are supposed to be able to do some semblance of that, at least for long enough for pressure to get home, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't. My bigger qualm is not in coverage. There are big issues there, absolutely. I am more upset, frustrated with the defensive line that is supposed to just wreck worlds and did last week. And this offensive line is one of the bottom tier offensive lines in the NFL. And again, this is why we try to temper our discussions after the last 2 games. The Vikings were borderline playing tight ends on offensive line because they were so injured. And the Browns had injuries and are one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. This is a bad offensive line, and it held its own. Like, it's Thursday Night Football, and that's weird, and like Thursday Night Football sucks, but it was just such a disappointment.
I honestly, like, I kind of saw it coming because it was Thursday night, like, 4 days
I
of
was
rest,
terrified.
or 3 days of rest. I get it. I was scared because, like, this was, as I said on our Sunday pod, I was like, this was, had they won this game, it would have really kind of been, tough for them to theoretically
You
lose
have
the
you have a
North.
chance
I
to
mean,
stomp out the
even this early
Ravens,
in the season.
and you blow
Yeah,
it.
pretty much. And you totally blow it against the team with Joe Flacco.
And last year, they
I
did the
just
exact same
I
thing
have to
against
laugh a
James
little bit. I have to
Winston
laugh a
Jefferson.
little bit. Like, yeah, it's like they well, like, yeah, when the last time they played the Colts, right? Tomlin literally said that he admitted in a press conference that he wished that Richardson had stayed healthy in the game because he didn't want Flacco in. And Flacco's career record against the Steelers is something like I think I saw it was like 11-11. Now it's probably 12-11 because they won, right? So like he's over 500, but like, it's not like he's like unbeatable and like he's over 40. Like, why are we? I just
Mike
like
Tomlin's
get him off his spot, like you said, like, blitz if you have to. Like, I don't understand why he had so much time to throw, like, especially after what I've seen the last few weeks, even before the bye, like playing quarterbacks better than him. Like, I just feel like the pass rush was just totally non-existent. And like when you have guys like Herbig, like Watt, like Highsmith. And I mean Highsmith getting just totally destroyed on that Flacco QB run on
I mean, like, you're never gonna play
that
him to
drive
keep it.
too.
So like I couldn't even that's just a great play call.
Yeah,
Like,
I couldn't be that mad, but like, it's just like I think it's just like it's just a microcosm of like the entire night. It's just like a miserable experience for this pass rush, which should be really good when you look at it on paper. And the inconsistencies across the board on this defense, like the fact that I can go from last week, like praising them and trying to temper my expectations and not freaking out about like, oh my God, they were playing a rookie QB, like, let's chill. And then this week I'm like, ready to jump off the ship.
The thing,
it's not good that like, I'm back and forth like that. I don't think that's good for anyone.
The thing that frustrated me, I mean, there are a million things that frustrated me. The pass rush wasn't getting home, right? Okay.
Yeah.
But you're not like last week had such a bespoke game plan, and that's what I've been begging for, right? And I lauded Tomlin and Terrell Austin for what they did to Dylan Gabriel. And he's a rookie quarterback, and you can confuse him. So you're bringing simulated pressures. You're bringing Ramsey. The Bengals ran as many condensed formations as the Browns did. You can blitz from the slot, and you can activate those types of players. You can bring a NASCAR package in there. And some of it, Tomlin talked at halftime to Kaylee Hartung and said, our problem is on first down, that we're not getting them behind the sticks. But even when they did, especially in the first quarter, they rushed 4 and sat back in zone. And they just played cover 3 with outside leverage. And Flacco knows where the answers are to that. He's going to hit the slant every time. He's going to hit the underneath stuff. And then when you play cover 2, he's going to hit the hole shots. And when you play man, you're toast because no one can man up on those guys. Like, it all came down to, can you pressure? And really, it felt like the only time they blitzed tonight was just activating a Mike linebacker to get one-on-ones across the board, which is like the most basic. Vic Fangio loves to do this so he can play cover 4 behind it. And like, that is just basic stuff. There was no stunts. There were no twists. It's a short week. You got to figure out how to win games on a short week because you blew the division last year, losing on a short week against Jameis freaking Winston and the Cleveland freaking Browns. And then you just did it again here because now I have no faith that the Steelers are going to win the North. It flips completely around to me. Like we said this on Sunday, if the Steelers take that performance, which we were so thrilled about how boring it was, how clinical it was, they just took care of business. And if they turned around and lost on Thursday night, all of that goodwill spent. We can caveat this in, it's Thursday Night Football. I don't think Thursday Night Football should exist for much of the season.
Totally.
I think it's an abomination. I think it flies in the face of everything the NFL says about player safety. And is this cope because the Steelers just lost? Maybe a little bit, but I would have said it before the game. I think it's ridiculous and absurd, especially for division games that are this meaningful. Regardless, it's not impossible to win on the road on Thursday night, especially against a team that is just toast. And the offense did everything. Like we can probably if you want to spin it to this offense, I think maybe now is potentially time. Like there's more. We can continue to pick apart this defense. Like, okay, Patrick Green was terrible.
We could spend an hour on the defense.
We could name all the players, and maybe
to.
we will. But I feel like 15 minutes in now, let's just mention how good this offense was and what they wasted. Because Rodgers was throwing missiles all over the place, aside from the 2 interceptions that they cashed in. And yes, you can't live on turnover margin every week. Like Tomlin wants to live on turnover margin. Turnovers are random as hell sometimes. The second interception was a perfect throw, and DJ Turner just ripped it away. That's took it away. Random as hell. Like you can't just rely on turnover margin every week. And they lost the turnover battle and got exposed as not that good of a team.
Yeah. I mean, I do want to hang on to one Tomlin point real quick before you.
Oh no, we can stay on the defense. We can stay on the defense because Zach in the chat
mainly on
a mention to Zach in the chat because he is as fired up as we are. He said, "Hell, I'll name all the players." I'm pissed.
He gets it.
And absolutely, like fire him off. Yeah. Every player, if you're in the chat right now and you're upset about the performance of somebody, throw them up there, and maybe we'll latch onto it and talk about their performance and what we thought about it. But go ahead, Mark.
Yeah. So entering this game, and this winning percentage has gotten worse. I know you mentioned 2-9, 2-10. That's a 2-9 is a 182 winning percentage. In comparison, the rest of the NFL has a 431 winning percentage on road Thursday night football games. Just so ever since TNF was invented, I guess, which I don't love it, but teams still find a way to win on the road, like you mentioned. So like that's a huge difference. It's a huge difference. And like the fact that Tomlin coach teams can't prepare for that. I also like every time they backed out in zone, sort of to your point, like the linebackers just can't, like they're not built for that. They can't cover for I don't want to curse too much, but they can't cover for anything.
For shit. So I'll do it for you.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, someone had to say it. Frankly, it's just it's bad, man. Yeah, it's bad, and I definitely want to get to the optimism of the offense because I did like what I saw from some of that stuff, but definitely just wanted to mention that like Tomlin, this is a theme, man. This is a big theme, and anytime he has the like short preparation, turn around real quickly, he's great off buys where he has 2 weeks to prep for the freaking Browns, but when he has to prep for honestly, the Bengals aren't dramatically better. Like when he has to prep for a team like the Bengals in 3 or 4 days, he's got nothing. And they just run back the same 4-3 zone that is just like it looks miserable.
It's
3-4. Sorry, yeah. It looks miserable. It's really annoying to watch, frankly, because like I've seen the same thing in the postseason for them, like year after year. Whenever they keep losing these playoff games, it's because they just can't. They sit back in this zone and they just don't have answers. And even now when they have corners, it's a mess, man. It's a mess. That's all I'm saying. And like it's why like my ceiling at the beginning of the year when we talked, what's the best the Steelers could do? I was like one playoff win, and even that felt like a massive stretch. And you argued with me, and I kind of agree.
I just don't. I don't think a Mike Tomlin coach team is going to win a playoff game, and I think you saw why. And you mentioned they had the bye going into Cleveland. You had to be prepping for this game a little bit, knowing Thursday Night Football was coming right around the corner.
What are you doing?
We can linger on Tomlin. We can circle back to Tomlin. I think in the chat they're latching on to TJ Watt's performance, and I think that's rightfully so. And yes, before we get off of it, because this is great in the chat, is this another facet of Tomlin playing scared? And yes, don't live in your fears. No coach lives in their fears more than Mike Tomlin. I thought they probably should have gone for the 4th and 4 before they did get the stop. And I texted you that, and it worked out. They got the stop, scored a touchdown. But I still think that's living in your fears. And the way Tomlin plays defense against veteran quarterbacks is absolutely living in your fears. Like you don't do anything exotic because you're scared they'll burn you for big plays. Okay, maybe they will, but maybe you'll knock Flacco out of his rhythm. Like it's crazy how risk averse he gets against any veteran quarterback, and it's incredibly frustrating. On to TJ. I said last week that Nick Herbig is the best pass rusher on this team. Nick Herbig didn't do anything tonight, but he wasn't really given the opportunity. He didn't play.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was they were giving up so much in the run game and you don't trust Herbig as much as Highsmith in the run game. Watt is still one of the better run defending edges in the NFL. I'll absolutely stand on that. I don't think there's a lot of burst there right now. Like anytime he hasn't gone up against a backup tackle this year, because he went up against a backup right tackle against Minnesota. He went up against a backup right tackle against Cleveland for most of those games, and he had 6 and 7 pressures in those games. Anytime he's had to face a starter, even not good ones, just starters at all, he's been completely silent. And he was completely silent tonight. He couldn't win one-on-ones. And yes, he is the most chipped player in the NFL. Next Gen Stats did their chip rate. It came out this week and they had it updated. Mina Kimes had the numbers on her podcast today. He's the most chipped player in the NFL this year. You know who's number 7? Nick Herbig, who according to ESPN stats is leading the freaking NFL in pass rush win rate. So you can win when you're getting chipped. Chip does not mean, you can no longer do anything. It is just getting so incredibly frustrating. And yeah, they paid him a ton of money. And I never felt great about the contract. I justified it as at no point during it are they going to be paying a quarterback. So I can live with it a little bit more. But it's not going to be, I don't think this contract's going to age very pretty because through the start of this game or this season, TJ Watt has looked like an over the hill player.
I mean, I wrote an article after Sunday's game against the Browns, and I admittedly went at Myles Garrett. Mm-hmm. I said, Myles Garrett looks like he belongs on the back of a milk carton. Very straightforward. PFF then gave Myles Garrett a grade that I thought was a little too high. I don't feel like going down that rabbit hole, but I want to be consistent, and I do want to say that where was he made that one play with Cam late in the game, that sack of Flacco, which was nice, helping get the ball back, but beyond that, I feel like he just he's been unrecognizable this season. I'm used to him causing havoc in the backfield. There's been next to none, and this
was down the stretch last year too.
Yeah, for sure. He was invisible down the stretch last year. The start this year, he's had some moments, but today, at times you just forget he's playing, and that's obviously not what you pay for. So yeah, I'm definitely concerned. I love what Herbig can do on the other side of him when they actually give him that playing time. I was a little confused with why they didn't, because versus the Browns, they used all 3 linebackers at once.
Yeah, a lot.
It was great. A lot, and it really created kind of chaos in the Browns backfield, and I feel like they kind of abandoned that concept today. And I maybe there was a reason for that. Maybe it's because they were playing a vet QB, but is Dylan Gabriel that much less of a risk than Joe Flacco? I'd rather kind of go at both of them. I get the Flacco's the vet, so Tomlin's probably kind of more scared of that because he's seen Flacco more, but letting him sit back there and not using your best blitzers that you have at your disposal just seems like a huge mistake, for sure. But yeah, Watt, I don't know where he's been, and I assumed when he got his money that he would show out a little bit, but yeah, he's been completely missing, frankly, from this defense for most of the season.
And it's gonna be a big problem if they can't win up front, because that's what this defense is designed to do. I thought Hayward was good. I thought Harmon was good, but I think their linebacking core is a big problem, and I think building a secondary around a bunch of guys over 30 and a super grabby young guy is not a really good strategy. And Deshaun Elliott is still awesome, and Juan Thornhill is fine, and Chuck Clark is a problem. But a problem for the Steelers, not like a problem like it's some, Instagram reel highlight tape. It's just really bad all around, and I think this is a probably against good offenses, maybe a bottom half defense, and maybe that's taking too much from a Thursday Night Football performance, but it was really, really bad. What was not bad was the offense, and we have to talk about it because 10 minutes ago I said maybe we should transition, and we had 10 more minutes. I loved what I saw from the offense. I love Arthur Smith this season. What he's doing is fantastic. The run game is new and fresh every week. He's getting to some like the direct pitch back. He's getting to counter stuff off of it. He's bringing Spencer Anderson in motion. He's pulling Darnell Washington and Anderson against the flow of the run, like on those pitch counter kind of looks that are weird and funky. He's running more power. He's getting to outside zone flow from the shotgun pitch, which Aaron Rodgers seems to love and allows him to check into that more easily with them still sticking to the core tenets of the run game they want. Jaylen Warren is like running really hard. Every time he got tackled tonight, he like did a flip or spun all around because he was just so violent to the point of contact.
Yeah.
I love what they're doing with that. And then this passing game, Pat Freiermuth was fantastic. He caught 2 touchdowns.
Muth sighting.
Yes. And this is why I said
maybe we shouldn't trade him.
This is why I said you absolutely shouldn't move on from him because it's a bit duplicative, but he has a different skill set. He's the vertical stretch guy of this tight end room, and you don't have a lot of vertical stretch out of anywhere else in the receiving core. So even Roman Wilson showed up tonight. Like there's so much to be excited about against a really bad defense that had absolutely no pass rush and allowed Rodgers to get out of the pocket and throw off platform. But Rodgers looked fantastic. Like he was throwing darts all over the place. So the offense, like 10 out of 10, A+, well done. I really have no notes. The defense let you down tonight. So what are your initial thoughts on that side of the ball?
I mean, I also have no notes. I frankly, I wanted to see them take their performance against the Browns because that was a very good defense, into this game against the Bengals, which is a very bad defense. Bengals came into this game ranked 30th in opponents' points per game and 31st in opponents' yards per game. So just for a little clarity, very bad. Yeah. So, but seeing it carry over is great. Arthur Smith, it seems like he's in his bag right now, frankly, which is not a phrase I use lightly, or I might be too old to use, frankly. But I really like what they're doing with the tight ends, especially. It was great to see Freiermuth make an impact because we've all been kind of waiting for that, right? Yeah. It's like where does Freiermuth fit in this offense? And all of a sudden he's a downfield threat. And if he can, sustain that, then it's nice to see. At times I thought that they could have ran the ball more. That was the only note really I guess I had, because Warren had 16 carries, but at the same time, when you give up 17, 20 straight points to the Bengals, and you're down multiple possessions in the second half, you're kind of forced to throw. The turnovers were unfortunate, not all on Aaron.
The first one was a terrible.
First one was. The second one was kind of rough. Metcalf got that ball taken away. But the Steelers came into this game with a +7 turnover differential. The Bengals had I think it was a -4. So you kind of it's going to happen, and turnovers can be a lot of luck, bad or good luck. So I was encouraged. Rodgers didn't take any sacks. Unless I have that
how could you with this Bengals defense with no Trey Hendrickson? We're talking about the Steelers having no pass rush. They did nothing against the Steelers offensive line.
Where was Shamar Stewart? Stewart?
Oh,
yeah. So it was. The offense was what I expected them to be against this defense, given how they played last game. I hope that they can carry it over because they have tougher opponents coming up. But it's nice to see them kind of carry some momentum. I feel like they've been pretty good since the Vikings game in in Dublin. So
Yeah.
like, as long as they can just, continue that momentum. Really, again, I hate to harp on the defense because I want to talk about the offense and I'm here
It's
for
hard
it, and
not
we can
to.
keep talking
Yeah.
about but the defense is, again, like there's too much money invested in this defense to give up 30 points a game. Like we need, you just need to give up under like 25 and you probably get 10 wins.
Yeah.
Like
10, 11.
at least the way this offense is playing right
Mhm.
now, that's, if you give up under 25, 24 points a game, you probably win most of the games you play. But the way this defense is playing, it's just so inconsistent. I can't feel confident just because the offense is performing well,
Last year, when the Steelers put up a bunch of points on the Bengals and Russell Wilson looked awesome, that was a lot of just like chucking it deep, and it worked out that game, and he hit the moon balls. I think this is different. This is more sustainable.
Mhm.
It was a defense that couldn't get any pass rush. You're still living in a very quick game world, which has its limitations. But if Rodgers is going to move the way he is the past couple weeks and be able to get to some of those throws out of structure, then this is kind of I won't say a whole different ball game, but we're heading in that direction. Like where I have to say, okay, I admit that he is significantly less washed than it looked in the first couple weeks of the season, and he is putting significantly fewer limitations on this offense. I think they're just really finding themselves, right? We talked about
Mhm.
in the preseason, my prognostication of this offense was get weird. Like you are built weird as hell with all of these tight ends. Lean into that. Be weird as hell.
Mhm.
Like teams can only get so big, right? You're putting out 3 tight ends, 12 jumbo personnel. And I talked about that on the pod on Monday, this 12 jumbo personnel that they're going to with 2 tight ends and Spencer Anderson out there. Defenses are only going to get so big. They're going to go to base. They're not going to put an extra linebacker out there, right? And even their linebackers aren't as big as your tight ends because one of your tight ends is 320 pounds or whatever. So use that to your advantage and run all over them. And when they do get too big, then you can take some shots and push the ball and even just swing it to the outside because you have numbers out there because they got to load the box
Mhm.
against this stuff. Frankly, I think this is the offense that Arthur Smith was born to design because like he loves
For
tight
sure.
ends. The dude loves tight ends. The dude loves the running game. It's always been his thing. It's a match made in heaven, and now they're getting to some other things in the run game, and I love it. Like I opened this talking about how unique they've been in the run game, and we think of Arthur Smith as outside zone, stretch zone, flow, and bootleg off of it. That's really not what much of it is. Like they're getting to some of that stretch zone look, but it's a lot of there's power, there's these pitches, there's not much counter, like they don't really run it, but they did a little bit tonight, and they're finding ways to run the ball out of the shotgun. I don't think I've seen a Steelers offense run this like down to down consistently because the
Mhm.
Wilson thing was so boom or bust that you knew it wasn't sustainable, and then it wasn't. I won't say this is going to be like high end sustainable, but if you can run the ball like this, it is. And I think they kind of have an answer to run the ball. So I'm really encouraged about that. And it doesn't change my opinion about this team at all because the defense, like circling back around as you did, it's so hard to talk about because we want to, we talked about this on Sunday where we try to talk about these games in a vacuum a little bit, but you can't. Like you have to
Mhm.
talk about what this team is, where they stand. How do you get any more excited about an offensive performance like the past 2 weeks of offensive football are great play calling and excellent quarterback play? We would have killed for that any of the last 4 seasons. And because of the
It's
defense,
true. Yeah.
I think they're going to win 9 games. still.
Yeah, I mean,
it's so frustrating.
You and I are basically debating between a difference of 9 and 10 wins.
And win a
I
playoff
predicted
game
10
or lose
before
a
the
playoff
year.
game.
You predicted 9 and win and lose a playoff game, which for me depends on the opponent because I could easily pick against them depending on who they play against. Frankly, the next two me a lot. They play the Packers and the Colts. And I don't want to get too far ahead of things.
You needed this one so bad.
I would agree. But they have a week and a half to prep for the Packers now on Sunday Night Football. I like to think that when you and I are talking that Sunday night, that hopefully we saw some improvements, at least defensively. I am super encouraged by the offense. I'm really happy that Rodgers is kind of, I guess, delivering like I didn't even think he could. I came into the season pretty optimistic. I thought he was one of the best quarterbacks the Steelers have had since Ben retired for sure.
This is the best quarterback.
Did not see this coming.
This is the best quarterback play they've had since Ben hurt his elbow in 19.
Right?
Yes.
I'm like we're just not used to seeing it, frankly. As Steelers fans, we haven't seen this level of QB play in a while. So for us, it almost feels weird to critique it because it's I'm used to calling out Kenny Pickett and Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. This is actually pretty normal quarterback play. This is what a future Hall of Famer should look like, even at this age. So I am pleasantly surprised. Did you? I was curious if you had any thoughts on the usage of, and this is a smaller point from tonight's game, but Caleb Johnson only didn't get any carries from what I saw. I'm curious if you had any thoughts on that because it was mostly just Warren. I think Gainwell got 3 or something, but they had mixed them in a little more.
It's kind of to the point you had of they just didn't run the ball a ton because they were, and I think in the second quarter they probably should have stuck with it a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
But it was just kind of game script got wonky. They got stopped a little bit. And then when they were running it, they were ripping off such chunks that they were getting in situations to throw the ball. And Rodgers loves to throw the ball in the red zone so much because, he likes to throw touchdowns. He's exceptionally good in the red zone. He's historically maybe the best red zone throwing quarterback in the history of the NFL. So it's hard to be whoa, you're a stat patter. Okay, he's really good at it. And if you're scoring a touchdown, you're scoring a touchdown. But he loves to throw goal line touchdowns instead of handing it off. But the Caleb Johnson thing, yes, some of it is that just got weird and they didn't run the ball a ton. Warren also ran incredibly well.
He killed it, yeah.
And I'm just kind of over it with them. They're not going to do it. They're not going they don't give rookies opportunities. They gave him a weird opportunity that didn't feel like it fit his skill set at all as the returner. And now Keyshawn Williams is excellent in that role. Maybe he should have been doing it all along. And he made a really bad mistake against Seattle. And I think he's just going to be in the doghouse the rest of the season. I think it's stupid. I think it's incredibly stupid. And you're wasting a pick that you could have spent on this terrible defense. But I'm exasperated with I'm so exasperated I can't say the word with just Tomlin's usage of young players. And
for sure.
It's always been the case. And that's not the only thing that frustrates me with Mike Tomlin. But it's near the top of the list. Just give the kid some carries. But we finally, a year and a half in, are finally seeing Roman Wilson out of pure necessity, and he looks good. Yeah. I think he's a pretty capable receiver, but we never would have known that if Calvin Austin didn't get hurt because he didn't look great in practice early on and got injured, and Tomlin said, I'm done with this kid. Yeah. And now back-to-back third-round picks nothing is becoming of them because Tomlin just loses interest in young guys.
Yeah.
So
he'll go back into hiding soon. Don't worry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whenever Austin comes back,
as soon as Calvin
you'll
Austin
forget
gets
he
healthy.
exists. Yeah. You'll
And
forget he exists.
And it's hard to be upset about anything with his offense because it looked good.
Yeah.
I don't want to be over reliant on Rodgers. Like, he threw the 2 interceptions. He frankly could have had another. Like, there are some throws where you're like, ooh, you would have had that a couple years ago. It's not quite. But I don't know. It still looks really good. And Zach in the chat, Zach Attack, why don't we use Roman Wilson more? It's so stupid. This might be rhetorical, but an attempt to answer it is just 1, Mike Tomlin's stubbornness. 2, the actual like schematic answer. They're just using so many tight ends, and the advantage that gives them is so immense. And one of the things that I love about their run game right now is when they're getting into these super condensed formations, even when they have multiple receivers out there, be it 11 personnel with an extra offensive lineman, which they're doing a fair bit, or some other variation. They want Metcalf out there. They want Skoranek out there. They want guys that are better blockers just so they can help get that outside zone and seal things off to the perimeter. And I can't complain with the results because they're running the ball so well. So that is the schematic reason. In terms of other things, it's just like Mike Tomlin's stubbornness and things like that. And it's incredibly frustrating. And it's one of the many reasons I want the Steelers to move on from the 19-year Mike Tomlin era, but it is not going to happen. So we continue to deal in reality and try to find solutions for this defense. We talked about, do you have any more before we go back to the defense? Because we have to end on it again. We have to talk about it more. Do you have any more thoughts on Rodgers? Because we usually go a little deeper on Rodgers.
We do.
I always go very deep on Rodgers on my deep dives, so I'm fine to not, but I want to give you the platform. Like, you have any more thoughts, and I'll engage and go back and forth as much as you want.
I felt as though he had more time to throw today.
Oh, a lot. Right? Yeah, they just
like
have no
which was nice. Well, yeah, that's
beautiful.
What I'm saying. Yeah, it was nice. So like, I
dreams of what this offensive line could be.
True. Also, yeah, right. You have to factor in that most pass rusher, or most pass rushes are going to be a little better than the Bengals tonight. But yeah, kind of pivoting towards the defense. When a 40+-year-old Aaron Rodgers puts up 31 points, you have to win the game. That sounds ridiculously simple, and I hate to, just kind of go with basically eye test stats kind of thing. But like that's just how this feels. It's a huge letdown for us, frankly. With the Packers and Colts coming up, it's scary. Like, you face Micah Parsons next week. Good luck.
You missed Trey Hendrickson and you look great, and now Broderick Jones and Troy Fautanu get Micah Parsons, and
Best
then get the Colts, who are really weird and interesting on defense. One thing before we, I guess, kind of wrap things up on the defense and hit anything else we missed or popped into our head or whatever. Penalties. 7 for 59 yards. A lot of that is just the corners can't hold up. Like, it was Dominique Foxworth, who I reference a lot because he's so much football knowledge he spews out every Monday on the Mina Kimes show, or every Tuesday. But he talked about in a recent episode how penalties aren't always a discipline issue. Like, we think of it as a coaching thing, right? Where it's like you get the new coach in there. And I think it was in reference to the Jets, of like, they were one of the most penalized teams last year. You get Aaron Glenn in there. He's from Detroit. This culture thing, we're going to clean it up. Right. And his point was, penalties in the flow of action that aren't like operational pre-snap things, they're not always, it's not really a discipline issue. It's a skill issue. You hold because you can't block.
Yeah.
You hold because you can't cover. You commit pass interference because you have no chance. And that's what it feels like with these corners. Like getting back to the root of, there are so many roots of the issues because I think all three levels of their defense were terrible, right? If the corners held up in coverage better, the rush would have had more time to get there. If the rush got there quicker, the corners wouldn't have needed to hold up. And like, it's all one, if the linebackers were better in coverage and tackled better, they wouldn't have been in third and short so often. Like, so many things are an issue. But the corner play has felt really, that's the one that feels like it's without solution, right? Because it is a skill issue. It is you have 34-year-old Darius Slay, 31-year-old, 2-year-old Jalen Ramsey, and Joey Porter Jr., who has not developed. And I don't think I think he's at best a league average corner, maybe below average. And going up against that receiver core, like you're gonna get cooked. And do you see any potential solution for that secondary?
Sadly, not. I think they tried to solve it by trading Minka and getting Jalen Ramsey, right?
Yeah.
Like, and getting Darius in the offseason. Like that was supposed to be the solution. Mm-hmm. So do
they use their bullets? Yeah.
Yeah. So do I think there's like an obvious, obvious, I guess, solution here? Not necessarily. The Steelers came into the game averaging 5.8 penalties per game. That was among the lowest in the AFC, but like, that also, like, that's
not against Chase and Higgins in coverage.
Yeah, totally, right? Like when you play against teams with great wide receivers that can take advantage of like one-on-one coverage or the zone, you're gonna get cooked. And the Steelers, because most of their corners are, like you said, kind of over 30, basically my age, which is not a good place to be as a corner. That's not gonna just not gonna end well. I question the strategy of, I guess, acquiring those. I don't want to, like, I get why they got Jalen Ramsey. Like, I don't want to go into that because like that was smart. But
on the construction of the secondary. Again, like you, I get the Ramsey trade. You're kind of mixing it up. You think he can age into a role as a safety.
Yeah, like it makes sense.
I like him as a nickel. Like I actually think their best set, construction there is with him in the nickel and rushing the passer and helping in the run fits and things like that. The Slay signing, to me, from the outside looking in, and I feel like it's an fairly easy dot to connect, is the Eagles cut him. So when you sign him, it doesn't count against your comp pick formula. And the Steelers in the free agency this year were really careful not to disrupt that comp pick formula because they knew Dan Moore was getting a big deal. A lot of free agents were leaving. James Daniels, like a lot of those guys were leaving in free agency. So you were going to get a lot of comp picks, and they're currently set to have about 12 draft picks next year. And they clearly were wanting to stockpile ammunition for that draft. So to me, that's the only reason it was Slay over, name your younger guy. But we've seen this continually with the Steelers. Like we saw Levi Wallace go out there and not be the answer. And Akello Witherspoon was younger. I guess he just kind of wasn't a fit for the Steelers because he's been better with the Rams and kind of found a home there. But the construction, I don't have a huge issue with, because like I get what their thought process was with it. And then schematically, like what could be a solution? You play more shell zone coverage and try to keep everything in front of you. Like they sat in a lot of zones tonight and they just got cooked, because I think one thing that was really clear about Zach Taylor's game plan was he wanted to make the Steelers defensive backs tackle. And you saw that with a lot of quick throws to Chase. And some of that is just getting the ball out of Flacco's hands. But it's also a lot of just throws to the perimeter, make Darius Slay tackle. And we've seen in multiple games he's gone out because he's not really up for the physicality anymore, and make Joey Porter Jr. cover. And I think they have a big weakness there that doesn't – the up front, there are solutions of your stars need to play better, and maybe that's the solution in the secondary too. But there are schematic things I think can help. But in the secondary, like I don't know what you do. I think good teams are going to do this to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think this game, and frankly, anytime their secondary, does not play up its part, it probably just comes down to the pass rush. Like, where was the, we can go
That's
back
how this
to the
defense is built.
Yeah, like they're not invested from like the back, the secondary to the front. It starts with the front seven. Like you just need you need those guys to show up. There was no pass rush for most of this game, and as a result, Flacco barely got pushed off his spot and could just sit there and dink and dunk. That's that. It really is kind of as simple as that. So like, do I have issues with some of the secondary or how they played? Sure. Yeah. They didn't look great against some of the best receivers in football, but like, do I think that is it a fair expectation of me or of any fan to assume that they could be any better when there's no pressure from the front seven? I don't think so. I feel like, you need TJ, you need Herbig, you need Highsmith, you need Hayward, you need like all these dudes to like, that's where most of your money is invested. You need these guys to make an impact, or else, at any secondary, the best secondary in the league, if there's no pass rush, is going to eventually get destroyed, especially against veteran quarterbacks
with Chase and Higgins. Like,
with Chase and Higgins. I hesitate to praise Joe Flacco too much from this game because I feel like Tomlin probably did that in his post-game presser already,
I can only imagine what he's saying.
But if you give a veteran quarterback who has Chase and Higgins all that time to throw, like they're gonna dominate you. That's just how it goes. So like, sure, I wish that the secondary would have covered guys better, or I wish they maybe planned something a little better schematically, but like I don't really know what else they could do. To your point, like I just feel like that they were kind of screwed when they couldn't rush the passer.
Yeah, that's ultimately what it is. What it is for me, like if you're not with this defense, the way it is built, able to heat up a quarterback at all, you're gonna lose a lot of games. Like you're gonna give up a lot of points. You're gonna lose a lot of games, and it seems that the dog pound has showed up. We appreciate your viewership from Cleveland. We're getting an OHIO.
Let me have it. Let me have it. Let's go.
For a moment, for the OHIO just made me think college football. And for a moment, when Freiermuth scored that touchdown, I was gonna say, what's a more painful whiteout loss, Penn State or Cincinnati? But Cincinnati didn't lose. They didn't pull a James Franklin. So I don't know. Yeah, it was incredibly frustrating. Everything was bad. Everything needs to get better again. And this is maybe my last big question for you. Was the defense getting better, or did the defense play Carson Wentz and Dylan Gabriel? Because the defense did not play well against the Patriots. They got a bunch of turnovers, but down to down, they could not stop the run. They could not do anything. They were bad the first 3 games of the year. They were good the last 2, especially good against the Browns.
Yeah.
Were they getting better, or is this the same defense and they just played Carson Wentz and Dylan Gabriel?
I think they got a little better against the Browns. I know that the quarterback play was worse. I know it was Dylan Gabriel. However, I think schematically they looked a lot better. As we discussed after the Browns game, schematically it was an unrecognizable product for me. It was not something I had seen from a Steelers defense in probably over a year, which says a lot about their usual schematics. But whatever. I was pleasantly surprised, and then in the short week, it just felt like they abandoned a lot of the things that made me think they were better. So it's a small sample size, but I think they gained some confidence against the Browns. I thought they looked better, at least as a pass rush, in terms of blitzing those 3 outside linebackers at once. I really liked that. I just wish that they did that all the time.
Yeah.
You
need to be You need to be in
So when I
3rd and
see
long to
this,
do it, right? Like, you need to be in obvious passing
yeah,
situations to do it, and
yeah.
if
So
if you're
like when I
not
see
stopping the
stuff like
run,
this, though,
yeah.
when I see stuff like this, though, it just makes me think that it was like a one-off, and maybe, yeah, maybe they're just going to go back to what they've always
Mhm.
been, which is dominating rookies and struggling against proven vets, or just kind of shying away from,
Any type of
I guess aggressive
aggressiveness.
game
Yeah.
plans. Like, I don't know. Yeah, that's not a good answer, but I thought they were better against the Browns. I really
Mhm.
did, and not just based on who they were playing, but yeah, maybe that was misguided. I don't know.
I thought they were better. I thought there were a lot of drops and some things that were some cracks, but again, like I said, it was like you said and we said, completely different look to the defense tonight. So,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
they're the let's maybe leave with a bit of positivity. It was a short week. A
Mhm,
short week forces you to distill everything down to like its most basic elements. And the most basic elements of a Mike Tomlin defense, there is one quarterback alive who knows the answers to that defense better than Joe Flacco, and that's Tom Brady.
mhm.
And I like it was that has to be why Tomlin was so mad, because Jake Browning does
Yeah.
not do this. Like, this does not happen with Jake Browning.
No, no.
And Flacco just knows where the bodies are buried against cover 3 and against man, you're hopeless with those guys out there. What concerned me the most was like the run defense. If okay, now you can't stop the run too, now you're
Yeah.
screwed. If you can stop the run, you can live with some of that stuff. But if you're not, if you're losing the trenches, you're screwed. But the optimism, which I strayed away from the optimism. I try so hard for you guys. I try so hard to be bring some positivity, because I know I'm not the most
Yeah.
positive Steelers fan. Maybe I'm potentially one of the most negative, but I love this team. I want them to be a championship contender. That's why I am critical. But circling back to positivity. It was a short week. You had to distill everything down to its most basic elements. Joe Flacco knows the answers to that test. And he was the worst possible quarterback you could have been facing
Mhm.
in such a scenario. And maybe the defense will continue to play like it did against the Browns and against the Vikings for 3.5 quarters next week against Jordan Love and the Packers. But I wouldn't bet on it.
I will say that,
First, are you proud of me? That was some optimism.
that was really
Thank you.
good. That was really good. I was gonna give you like a nice silent applause there. No, Tom, like, we give Tomlin a lot of crap on this show,
Yes.
and he's earned a lot of it,
Mhm.
but
Keeps
I
earning
do
it.
earnestly think I do earnestly think he's a good football coach on a different
Yeah,
team.
yeah, I
Like,
just think it's
I
stale. Like,
believe
I
that.
actually do
He's
think
a
he's a good coach,
he's a
yeah.
good football coach, and when he has a week and a half to prepare for a
Mhm,
team like he does with the Packers, and still a fairly young quarterback in Jordan
mhm,
Love without a ton of experience, I'm hopeful in that. I think short weeks are really just his, like, that's his kryptonite
mhm.
for sure. I mean, the stats back it up. So, I like to think that with like a week and a half to prep and to really look over this tape and like have a very honest
Mhm.
conversation with his defense, one would hope, and his pass rush, one would hope,
Yeah,
um, they can make some necessary changes. So I do think they look better against the Packers, but the Packers are also a much better team than the
yeah.
Bengals. So that's where you kind of get into like the nitty gritty. It's a little more iffy,
If
but
they win that game,
yeah.
they will be absolved of their sins, right? Like,
Oh, for sure.
because
I'll
you
praise
were
them.
expected
I'll praise
you
them.
were expected to win this game, and you would have been 4 games up on Baltimore in the division race and have
Mhm.
buried Cleveland and Cincinnati effectively. And now you're 3 games up with 2 games head to head against Baltimore still hanging out there. But if you can beat the Packers, that's pretty much where you were expected to be. But if you fall to 4-3 with the Colts hanging out there, still 2 matchups with the Ravens, like a tough back half of the schedule, then you're in some real trouble. So it's going to be a big one. We got a lot of time to prepare for it. We will be back for that one next Sunday for an instant reaction pod. I will be back on Monday, deep diving this game, and we'll have even more distance and time to talk about it. And maybe I'll do a little bit previewing of the Packers. But we always know that we have Tommy and Shane on Wednesdays, who, if you're subscribed to the Still Curtain podcast, you heard yesterday on this short week. It's a short week for everyone, including us at the Still Curtain podcast. Until then, thank you so much. Have a great week. And as always, go Steelers.